After I lost my baby in a life-or-death situation, my sister made a point of saying it was a sin in front of everyone. When I later called her out on the abortion she had, she said I should mind my own business. Her perfect image just shattered and everyone is judging her now. I, 26, female, in a bit of a mess right now with my sister, Lexi, 24, female. Recently, there was a big blow-up at her birthday party because of what she said to me. I had been pregnant, but had to get an abortion for medical reasons. I was already 4 months along, and it was unfortunately a life-or-death situation, so there wasn't much we could do. I had been super excited about having a child and even found out that we were having a boy. But then, some complications came to light, and the doctor highly recommended a termination because having the baby wouldn't have survived and would have probably killed me as well. It was an extremely tough decision, and I'm still having a lot of trouble coming to terms with it. My husband, Josh, 26, is equally upset about it. To be honest, we didn't even want to go to the party, but my sister kept badgering me and even accused me of not caring about her. Maybe it was stupid of me, but I went to make her happy. Lexi knew that I was an emotional mess. Still, she invited me to the party so that she could call me a sinner. My abortion was no news to everyone there. I had announced my pregnancy and the gender of my baby long before I knew that I would have to get an abortion. So I sort of had to tell everyone why I was no longer pregnant. Lexi seemed extremely annoyed with me when family members sympathized with me. After a while, she actually started making some really hurtful comments about how people shouldn't fuss over me so much since I voluntarily killed my child. She accused me of having no remorse and no caring about my child as well. She said a lot of hurtful things about me and kept telling me that what I did was a sin. My sister is extremely crazy. She's actually a true narcissist and a toxic human being. We never really had a great relationship because she never liked me. Still, I always did everything possible to make sure that I was a good sister to her. That day, I simply couldn't take her words. She was being intentionally hurtful when she had no right to say the things she said. I did something I had never done before. I retaliated against her and exposed one of her biggest secrets. I reminded my sister that she had an abortion herself just a few months ago. That was supposed to be a secret. No one knew because she didn't tell anyone about it. She told me that she wanted me to accompany her to the doctor when she took the pills. I had been there for her. She didn't want anyone to know because she knew that her friends would judge her for getting rid of her child. She has cried to me about how she and her husband, Brian, 28 male, weren't ready to be parents, so they had to go against their beliefs and have a termination. I had been there for her. I had been a shoulder to cry on. I never passed judgment on her because I am pro-choice. Never had I thought that the same sister would turn on me and call me names because I had to get an abortion for medical reasons. I couldn't control myself that day. The grief of losing my child along with the betrayal of my sister was enough to make me see red. I told everyone how Lexi was a big hypocrite because she had an abortion herself. You can only imagine what the fallout was like. My sister had been screaming and crying at me. She told me to mind my own business and stop trying to ruin her perfect image. She said some things about how I shouldn't say nasty stuff about her because I'm jealous and insecure. She was also pretty pissed at the fact that everyone was judging her after hearing what I said. She alternated between yelling at me and trying to make excuses for everyone else. I left soon after because I was beside myself already. Josh took me away because I was crying so hard that I was close to having a panic attack. All this happened a few days ago. My sister is now blowing up my phone and leaving me some really nasty messages. She's accusing me of ruining her image and being vindictive for no reason. I've been feeling really down already because her comments keep haunting me. My mental state is pretty bad, and I know I lashed out at Lexi. I think she had that coming because she had been acting like an insensitive idiot. Still, I have some doubts if I took things too far. I know that the people around her aren't happy with what she did, and I heard them verbally attacking Lexi when I was leaving the party. From what I know, the family is mad at her too. This was probably why she never wanted anyone to know what she had done. Josh says that she had this coming, but my sister's repeated texts are making me question everything now. Do you think I took things too far? AITA. Edit. I have been asked questions from people asking me why I think I am an idiot. Well, my sister has some really conservative friends and she is someone who agrees with their mentality. I knew that people would be mad at her if they found out about her termination. Still, I feel bad for airing her secrets. I have never done something like this before. I was so emotionally gone that her words drove me to insanity. My husband was also mad, but he stayed quiet. I'm now wondering if I should have just stayed quiet too. Also, you guys have been asking me why my sister had been acting like this. I don't know, to be honest. I think she just wanted to impress her friends or something by saying mean things about my abortion. Maybe she wasn't liking the attention that people were giving me at the party. But then again, I never wanted to go to her party. She was the one who threatened and blackmailed me into attending. I'm starting to think that maybe she wanted me there just so she could humiliate me in front of everyone. She has a history of doing stuff like this to me. Like I said, she hates me for some reason and hates that I don't agree with all her ridiculous beliefs. Update 1. Thank you so much for leaving your 2 cents on my post. I have been really struggling to understand if I had been completely in the wrong. There have been many not the whole votes and some of you said that ESH. I know that I could have handled things better, but I have been pushed to my limit. I still don't think I owe my sister an apology because I know for a fact that she would never apologize to me for her words. If she does accept her mistake, I will also apologize to her for exposing her like this. But I would tell you guys not to hold your breath for that. Lexi has always been very self-absorbed, so it's highly unlikely that she will voluntarily accept her mistake. It's been over a week already, but she is still putting all the blame on me and is refusing to accept that her actions brought this on in the first place. I don't know how to get through to her, so I stopped responding to her ridiculous and venom-filled texts a long time ago. I'm not in the mood to entertain her right now, but I've noticed some things since I made this post. I feel like I should come here and make an update because I still need some advice on how to deal with the situation. As you know, my sister is facing a lot of backlash from family and maybe even her friends. They are crazy people just like my sister is, so this was kind of expected. She's been trying hard to defend herself a lot, but is struggling to make it sound like she did the right thing. I mean, it's her choice, and that's what I will always say. But the people around her are just not having it. My mom especially has been exceptionally mad even though she isn't all that pro-life. She hasn't taken the news well and is currently fighting with my sister from what I hear. I did talk to my mom to try and figure out why she was acting so mad at my sister. She vaguely told me a few things, and I found out that she did know about Lexi's pregnancy, but didn't know that she got the child aborted. She promised to tell me more in detail, so I don't know what to think about that. I feel like everything is odd right now. But out of all these things, what's most strange is that my sister's husband Brian is also fighting with her. I only know this because my sister mentioned it when she cussed me out in her messages. She mentioned that I am the reason her husband is fighting with her and that my actions may have just ruined her marriage. Honestly, I don't know what Lexi's talking about because I haven't spoken to her husband directly after the party. Some of you guys called me an idiot because I had hurt my brother-in-law by airing his dirty laundry when he didn't do anything to deserve it. I have no defense for myself on that. Brian didn't look all that thrilled at the party, and I had been feeling bad that I aired personal matters out in public. I mean, my sister can go to hell, but Brian never really said anything offensive to me, so I'm feeling a little guilty that he suffered. I still don't know why he's fighting with my sister, though. Maybe he didn't like how insensitive Lexi had been towards me. He is a pretty no-nonsense guy, so I can see why my sister's behavior may have upset him. But I am curious to know if I had accidentally said or done something to set him off. No matter how much I hate my sister right now, I actually don't want her marriage to end because of me. I know that she really loves her husband, and Brian feels the same way about my sister. As much as I want my sister to know that she had been wrong and insensitive, I don't want it to affect her marriage. I'm not that petty. I have been wondering if I should reach out to Brian and find out what's going on. I will be honest and say that I am a little ashamed and feel guilty about reaching out to him. I feel like he's mad and disappointed in me. Josh said that he might call Brian, but even he wants to give him a little space. My husband, of course, thinks that my sister deserved what I did, but he is on the fence about whether it was right for Brian to suffer because of his wife's actions. Josh is also concerned about Brian, so both of us are panicking a little. Let us know if it will be a good idea to reach out to Brian. I may just leave an apology for him in case you guys think me and my husband should stay out of his marital problems. There will definitely be another update because I know this problem hasn't been solved yet. Update 2. You guys are absolutely right. I need to speak to Brian as soon as possible. What I did to him has been completely unacceptable. He definitely deserves an apology from me. I'm hoping we would understand why I did what I did, but I can't say that for sure right now. Josh is also worried that Brian would end their friendship and would stop talking to us because of all this. I'm scared of that too. God knows what will happen now. I am least concerned about what my sister thinks of me. I always knew that she didn't particularly like me, but Brian is a completely different story. I feel bad for any backlash he's facing right now. I can't undo the damage for him, but I can still take responsibility for my actions and beg for forgiveness. I'm going to send him a long message today and make sure he knows that I am repentant for my actions towards him. Update 3. Hi, guys. I had to come back and give you an update. This is going to be a long one, so you need to buckle up and be prepared. I should also warn you that things have gotten really crazy since my last post, so this update will probably blow your minds. So as promised in the last update, I drafted a fairly long message with the help of my husband, Josh, and sent it to Brian. I had been going crazy wondering about how he was going to react to my messages. I was actually praying to God that he won't be mad at me. Seriously, nothing would have prepared me for what happened next. Brian replied to the text within the hour. He didn't say much other than that he wasn't mad at me. What he did say was that we needed to meet up with him as soon as possible because he had some serious questions for me. I was relieved to know that Brian wasn't mad at me, but I was also a little wary about why he had been desperate to meet up with me. I didn't waste time thinking about those things, though. I immediately set up a meeting and took Josh along as well. That meeting didn't go very well because a lot of things had been discovered. Initially, Brian poked and prodded me about what I knew about Lex's termination. He was acting really odd and looked glum. All this made me really uncomfortable, but I didn't hold back. I told exactly what Lexi told me. I told him how she told me that they weren't ready for a child and decided to have a termination. I told him that Lexi had been scared of being ostracized by her friends group, which was why she didn't want anyone to know. She also told me to keep the pregnancy and termination a secret from the family because she didn't want to deal with their questions and judgments. I sort of started to cry and apologize for airing his secret to everyone. That's when Brian looked really sad and troubled. He told me that I did him a favor because I may have just caught my sister in a lie. So it turns out Lexi had been lying to both me and Brian. I know all this sounds very complicated, but please hear me out. Lexi told me that Brian also didn't want the child, which was why she had a termination. But Brian said that they never talked about getting a termination at all. According to him, Lexi told him that she had miscarried. Yes. The pregnancy was a surprise to him, but he was fully on board with having a child. Lexi and Brian had been having some marital trouble, so he thought that the kid would probably bring them closer. Brian said he had been ready to leave Lexi, but stayed because of the pregnancy. The loss brought them closer as they grieved the child they couldn't have. Now Brian just got to know that all of it was a lie. I know for sure that Lexi had a termination because I was the one who took her to the hospital. She was too scared to go alone. I had proof over text that Lexi had terminated her pregnancy. Brian had no doubt that Lexi was lying to both of us. We still don't know why, though. There are still a lot of questions about why Lexi did this and what she was even thinking. We only met up with Brian yesterday, and none of us could find answers yet. Brian and Lexi are still fighting because Lexi refuses to tell him why she did what she did. Initially, she had been trying to tell him and everyone that I was lying and making up stories. She couldn't do that anymore since Brian saw all the texts between me and Lexi. Again, I didn't hide anything from him. I had no idea that Lexi was playing both me and her husband. I don't have a single clue about why she's behaving this way. Brian is a mess right now, and Lexi has amped up her venom-filled messages. I'm ignoring her as usual because I literally have nothing to say to her right now. I have a feeling that her life is about to blow up, and she won't be able to do anything about it. After all the lies came out, I'm even madder at Lexi and think that I did the right thing by exposing her. I don't know what will happen now, but I have a feeling Lexi would lose her mind and probably show up at my house. We will have to wait and see what happens. Also, I think I'm going to have a sit-down with my mother and try to see if she knows something that I don't. My sister is clearly spreading different stories to different people, and Mom's rage towards Lexi has me questioning if she knows something about the matter. I have already told her that I would like to meet up with her this weekend, so hopefully I will have some answers by then. Update 4. Hi, guys. This is a minor update on the drama that had been going on. We are still in the dark about what's happening with Lexi and Brian, and she hasn't let up the reason for her actions yet. But I did have the chance to sit down with my mother and talk to her. Many of you, along with me and my husband, had predicted that my mother probably knows something about Lexi's pregnancy. We were right on point with that one. I spoke to my mom and found out that she did know about the pregnancy. In fact, she was the one who recommended my sister to get pregnant in the first place. Lexi had been confiding in our mom about her marriage problems, so Mom knew in detail that Brian and Lexi were on the brink of a divorce. My mom can be really old-fashioned in some way, so she was of the opinion that a child would fix Lexi's marital issues. To be very honest, I don't agree with her logic at all. But my sister apparently ran with it. She was desperate to save her marriage by all means. I found out from Brian and our mom that the marital problems mostly stem from the fact that Brian suspected Lexi of having an affair with someone. He never found concrete proof that there were enough red flags for him to suspect that Lexi had been sleeping with one of her co-workers. Lexi denied this, but couldn't really explain the evidence that was against her. Brian and Lexi had been at some weird for months before Brian started thinking about getting divorced. My sister isn't easy to live with anyway because of her narcissistic and manipulative ways. Brian had been feeling unhappy for a while, so he wanted to leave. But Lexi didn't want a divorce. That makes sense because she had the opinion that divorce is wrong and shameful. Yes, she is crazy, orthodox, and a wild hypocrite. She's also self-absorbed, so she thinks all her opinions and actions are the hallmark of morality. So, no, there still isn't an apology in the process. What did happen was that she made another enemy for herself. Mom knew about the pregnancy since she had excitedly told her about how Brian was happy and gave up thoughts of divorce. But Mom wasn't told that Lexi was getting termination out of her own will. Just like with Brian, Mom was told that my sister had miscarried. Mom only knew the truth when I opened my mouth at the party. She had been keeping Lexi's pregnancy a secret because my sister wasn't ready to announce it. That's why my mother never told me about it. I don't know about you guys, but I feel more confused and angry than before. Lexi literally played with all the important people in her life and thought that she could get away without any consequences. Her lies came out when I spilled everything at the party. No wonder she had been so mad at me. I don't know why she had to throw stones at my house when she lived in a glass house herself. Maybe she thought that I was too kind and dignified to reveal her secret under any circumstance. I was a very forgiving, naive woman and would have actually overlooked my sister's flaws, but the pregnancy termination took a huge toll on me and made me a very different person. I don't talk about my grief here, but that doesn't mean I have gotten over it. Josh and I are actually in therapy right now. Because all of this was too much to handle, I am not at 1% right now. But I guess I'm making some progress. It's just bizarre that I have to deal with this nonsense now. I'm sometimes regretting opening my mouth, but at least Lexi's lies unraveled because of this. Brian and Lexi are still at odds, and Josh told me that Brian has decided to file for divorce already. I don't know if he would actually go through with it, but time will tell, I guess. Update 5. Hello, everyone. I have been pestered to post an update here since it's been quite a while since I last posted. I had also stopped replying to comments and DMs because my mental health had taken a hit, so I wasn't in the condition to face all this drama. So many of you had been concerned about me and some of you even shared your personal stories to make me feel better. I have to thank you guys for that. It made me feel like I was not alone. Things did get worse before they got better though. Josh and I really faced a big storm in the past few months. Anyway, at least things are better now. So I'm going to post this final update here for closure. Trust me when I say that you and I both need this. So after my last post, things had been more or less calm. By calm, I mean, there wasn't any major development for the next 10 days. My sister kept calling me names, blaming me for her mistakes, of course, but except that, things were calm. Then everything blew up around 10 days later. Remember how I told you guys that Brian had been thinking about divorce? He wasn't kidding because he actually went through with it. He filed for divorce and had my sister served at home. Lexi, of course, didn't want to accept that she was going to be a divorced woman. She begged and cried and promised to do anything to save her marriage. Brian took this opportunity to try and get the truth out of her. After a lot of back and forth, including crying and screaming on both ends, Lexi finally confessed and told Brian the truth. She got an abortion because she wasn't sure if the baby was his. Brian's suspicions were right. Lexi had been having an affair. She confessed to everything. It had been going on for the past year. Lexi says that she isn't sure why she cheated. Apparently, she just couldn't stop herself after that one time. She didn't want to leave Brian, but didn't want to leave the affair partner either. She had been extra careful in hiding her tracks and her affair partner helped because he didn't want this to come out either. The two of them had a super thrilling affair. Her words, not mine. Anyway, after seeing Brian so happy about the baby, she started to freak out. She knew there was a good chance that her affair partner was the father. So in her panic, she decided to have an abortion and just lie about it. She recruited me to accompany her because she knew I would keep her secret and respect her boundaries. That was a miscalculation on her part. Anyway, Brian and Lexi had already started getting close again, so she was sure that Brian wouldn't leave her. She knew that Brian would be super caring and supportive towards her if she had a miscarriage. Lexi took full advantage of that knowledge and exploited Brian's emotional side to make sure their marriage became solid again. It's unclear if she continued the affair or not because Brian had simply got up and left after that. He came straight to our house and broke down in front of us. It was awful to watch and even worse to know that his kind and soft nature was exploited like this. It was a horrible experience for all of us. I was super mad at Lexi and also felt jealous that she had a healthy pregnancy she didn't want, while I had to give up my baby even when I wanted him with all my heart. Things got really dark after that day. I won't delve into the horrible parts, but I will tell you what happened next. Brian went ahead with the divorce and kicked my sister to the curb. The house was his before marriage, so Lexi couldn't force him to let her stay. She showed up at my doorstep after Mom refused to house her as well. Brian had told Mom the truth, and she had been beyond disgusted. I don't know why Lexi thought that I would take her in after everything. Sure, she looked stricken and a mess, but it didn't move me an inch. I simply shut the door on her face while Josh threatened to call the cops if she came near us again. Lexi did try to cry about how families should forgive each other and stick together. You can be sure that it fell on deaf ears. Ultimately, she left when she realized I wasn't going to help. I had already blocked her everywhere after telling her never to contact me again. Literally, no one wanted to help her. Her friends shunned her as soon as details of the divorce came out. They were mad about the termination anyway, so Lexi had no leg to stand on. Family members were also disgusted with what she did to me and to Brian. They had been pretty pissed off at her comments towards me at the party, and for a while, she had to go door to door to ask for help, but got nothing in return. The affair partner is too broke to take her in. Besides, I hear that he doesn't want any part in Lexi's drama anymore. She would have been fired from her job if the owner hadn't taken pity on her homeless state. Last I heard, she's living in the bad part of town with 4 other people because she isn't rich enough to have a decent life. The divorce is still going on, but Brian will come out with most of the spoils because of all the evidence against Lexi. Brian doesn't care about it though. He just wants to be done with Lexi for good. He isn't getting better as well and has gotten closer to me and Joshua. He's still being invited to family events since his own family lives in another country. Brian is getting plenty of support, so he won't be having much trouble recovering. As for me, well, I'm pregnant again.